the perfect ascent is a free solo, no shoes, completely naked. On site. That's the purest.
Everybody knows that.
I just want to make sure that we have established that as the one end of the spectrum.
Yes, that is the idealistic version. But nobody's doing that, obviously.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Maybe I'm going to start climbing this way. Maybe
I will not spot you. Welcome to the Testpiece podcast. This podcast is about all things high-level climbing. How to go from good to great. I'm your host, Joshua Horsley. I've been climbing for over 30 years. We recently updated our Patreon, and now you get exclusive content from the guests that you love. You get your episodes before everyone else, and they're ad-free. Try it out now at patreon.com/testpiece with a free 7-day trial. Okay, let's start the show. Yes, Good Temps is back. Carlo Traversi, Will Anglin, Austin Hoyt. Austin's actually not here right now. And the world's best climbing podcast moderator, me, Joshua Horsley. Dear listeners, you may think, of course it's time for another episode. It's been a month. But that's not exactly how things always work. I had asked this crew of all-stars to try out this unproven format for at least 6 episodes. And amazingly, you all said yes. But those 6 episodes have come and gone, and now we're on the 7th. And that's because they said, yes, Josh, let's keep going on. So I'm delighted to say that Good Temps will continue for the foreseeable future. And if you love hearing from these guys as much as I do, please let us know in the comments. Austin is not here with us right now. Austin is late. That Gen Z doesn't even know how his calendar works. But he is out there climbing. So for the now foreseeable future, it's just me, Will, and Carlo. How you guys doing?
Doing all right.
I'm really just jealous of Austin. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like he has really good temps because he's like, oh, it's all icy and the roads are closed. Poor guy.
Right.
Yeah, Austin is out in Boone on a Mad Rock climbing trip. Austin, that was literally our segue from the intro. We were going to say how busy we all are, how you're out doing a bunch of stuff, and you're supposed to hop on and tell us all about Boone, and now you're not even here. So instead, we're going to the next thing. Carlo, you just announced 2 new gyms, or in the last couple of months, you announced 2 new climbing gyms. For those who don't know, you are the founder of the Bouldering Field, amazing bouldering gym in Sacramento. Tell me a little about these new gyms you got coming.
Yeah, so I opened the Boulder Field in 2018, March of 2018, survived COVID. It's been a fun experience being a business owner and whatnot. And, we kind of always had the idea that we would expand at some time when it made sense. We've had a lot of opportunities to expand into quite a few different cities and just didn't have it work out, I guess, just with leases or, the locations or just not finding the right situation that worked out. And I've been searching for about 4 or 5 years now for a new opportunity. And it became pretty obvious that staying a little bit more centralized and rather than expanding too far out would be kind of beneficial. And so we started looking at more cities that are in kind of the North Central Valley area. And Davis is an obvious one with the big college and an aging gym there. It's one of the oldest gyms in the country. I know you know that gym well, Josh, starting out there.
Yeah, go Rocknasium.
Yeah, and then in Chico, they don't really have a gym. I think there's a really small one there, and I don't know much about that gym at all, but it's a small bouldering gym, and the one in Chico will be a full service gym, so they'll have rope climbing opportunities and bouldering opportunities as well, and that's going to be something new for that community up there. And for me, it was just finding ways of offering up climbing opportunities to more people that don't currently have it, and offering up a higher quality of climbing experience than what they currently have. And I feel like we have a really high quality climbing experience at the Boulder Field, and the goal is to really bring that to as many people as possible. And that's kind of been my motto from the get-go, is just making sure that we're offering something to people that they don't currently have. And yeah, I feel strongly about that, and I'm psyched about where we're moving into. And yeah, they're big projects. They've taken a long time to kind of fully sort out, but we're getting close. They should be opening up in the spring here, so both of them. So,
well, congrats. You started off by saying it's fun being a business owner, and then you said COVID, and I thought you were joking when you said it's fun being a business owner, especially through COVID. And in those last 7 years, you said 2018. Climbing industry, it's changed a lot. And also it changed a lot in the 7 years before that. I feel like, 2010, 2011 was a really big inflection point for climbing as a whole. And so I was just kind of curious about your thoughts about the last, 10, 15 years of climbing gyms, where we're at right now, because obviously you must be feeling somewhat bullish about if you're willing to open up a couple new gyms.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting time to be opening up gyms, because I do feel like on the macroeconomic side, we're in a bit of a recession, whether people want to admit it or not.
In gyms or the economy in general?
Economy in general, yeah. And I think you're gonna you're gonna see those reflected in gyms one way or another. In the previous 2008 recession that was much bigger and kind of hit harder at one specific time. I was working in the spot in Boulder at that time. And, I remember those conversations about what was going on in the state of the climbing world, but it was still growing. It just slowed down the rate a bit for a while, because you just don't have as many people that have, extra income to put towards like a new activity essentially in their life. And so I think that we will probably see a bit of that in the next, year or two. I think we've probably seen a little bit of that already. A little bit of a slowdown in terms of growth. I also think the slowdown in terms of growth is just the fact that we had such a big influx of new gyms over the last 5 to 10 years that at some point there's going to be a bit of a slowdown, just because all of these communities, or at least a lot of them in the country, have newer gyms. And so big growth happens in the greater scale when you get a new gym in a community that hasn't had one before, and a ton of people get introduced to it and become climbers. And it slows down a bit when you just don't quite have as much of that happening. And I do see a bit of a slowdown in that regard. But as you guys know, in the climbing community it's a really unique kind of fitness community, fitness, sport, like all of these different things, in that it keeps people engaged at a different level than you would find in other activities because of the community elements of it. And I think that as the world is more and more online and just kind of tapped into these online presence, they're still searching for a place to have, in-person connection. And I think climbing gyms are just kind of the perfect opportunity for that, where they've got this activity that they can do that is healthy for them, but they also can engage with and be around other people that feel similarly about the world and about sport, and are, interested in kind of a niche, which is becoming not that niche nowadays. But they feel like it's niche, and that's a cool thing to be kind of a part of. And so that's the thing that I've always loved about climbing. That's the thing I've loved about climbing gyms, is that I think no matter what, they will always be that, as long as the gyms are run well. And I think we can always rely on that, even when, the economic side of stuff is not as strong as it was in the past.
I love that shout out of the more time we spend online, in some ways, the more we seek out human interaction. Like I believe in that kind of barbell stuff, where when I look into the future, I see more people spending more time online. Now, it doesn't seem like that trend is going to not continue, but in some ways that makes the time we spend together that much more enticing and valuable.
Yeah. One of my favorite things about the Boulder field and starting that is that, like, I was able to see people meet each other like 8 years ago, become really, really close friends, or become partners, and then get married, and then have kids, all within this like time frame. And it's very cool to have created like a space that allows people to do that. And honestly, that's like my biggest inspiration for growth, is allowing more opportunities for people to have that in their life. And then the other side of it as well is, with one gym, we have employees that have been there for a long time, and we want to see them grow as well. And we want opportunities for them to grow, and expanding and building more gyms basically allows us the opportunity to give them more responsibility, like higher wages, and just growth in their career, that really wouldn't be possible unless they move to a different business or do other things.
Will, you've been working in the gym industry or the climbing industry in some capacity for a long time. And have you seen it change? And when did tension come around? Because you kind of have a different view of the whole industry versus being a gym owner and operator.
Well, so tension started in 2015.
Wow, 10 years, dude.
Yeah, 10 years.
Wow.
It's crazy.
Congrats.
But I started working in the industry in 2005.
20 years. Congrats.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I mean, it's changed a ton. In some ways for the better, in some ways it's been kind of a bummer. It's heartening to hear about the boulder field in that way, because I think, what was really impactful for me, just plain growing up, not just in climbing, but having the climbing gym, like having that space, the friendships that I developed, the mentors that I had, it just wasn't something I was necessarily getting elsewhere. And it made a big impact on me as a young person. It had, really positive impacts for growing up, but also what I do for a job now, and just kind of like learning skills and having something to pursue. And I really, felt like I got a ton out of it. It's really made me who I am. And I think having gyms that kind of understand that kind of impact that they can have and take that seriously and operate as such is really cool. And I think a lot of gyms do that really well. But it is different now than it has been. I mean, one of the obvious things to point out is you have a place like Denver where there's movement, and there's like 5 gyms or something relatively close, and you get a movement membership and you can go to all 5 of those gyms, which is sick. But one of the things that happens with that is, like, quote unquote, back in the day, your community in the gym was a little more restricted to that gym. So you'd run into a lot of the same people over and over and over and over again. Where when you're in a city like Denver, where there's 5 gyms, and it's like you might meet somebody, but it might be like 2 months before you kind of coincide and cross their path at whatever gym they were going to at any point in time. And so it's almost like when there's too many, or you have too many options, you don't get as much consistent interaction with people. And it can be tough to just, like, walk up to somebody the first time you've ever met and be like, hey, well, whatever, and like try and make friends. Usually it's like, oh, I've like half run into this person 5 times over the last 2 weeks, and we're like slowly starting to talk to each other, and like now we're friends. Just specifically, like, I think in these kind of cities where there are a lot of gyms, I think that's a change I think I've noticed is when there's too much choice, there's less cohesion.
Okay, guys, a wild Austin Hoyt just appeared out of the forest.
Hey, Austin.
Hey, guys.
Chalk all over him.
Yeah.
He made it. You're being housed by Taylor McNeil, right? Shout out to Taylor for letting us steal his Wi-Fi. Austin, we were just talking about kind of the state of the gym industry, and you've been climbing for a long time. I'm sure you've seen a lot of changes. You're back east, so maybe it's been different, but have you seen gyms change? Where are we at right now? It does feel like we're in a bit of a kind of consolidation phase. I feel like we had wild growth where you just saw new gym. And actually, like, recently I've seen gyms close. And I don't know about you guys, but that kind of wasn't a thing. Like, gyms like didn't close. And I don't know if they're going out of business but just seeing gyms actually close is a weird thing in the last decade. So what's your perspective on just the current state of things?
I think it's funny you talk about, or Will was talking about movement in Colorado, but movement's everywhere now. They're on the East Coast too. They took over the cliffs and everything. And I think, like Will said, they're just getting bigger. And I don't know if they're necessarily getting better per se, but definitely bigger. When I started climbing in a Ninja Warrior gym that had climbing in the back. And I mean, I started like a little later than probably you guys, I guess I'll say, but even then, I feel like a lot of gyms in the area were more tight knit. Like New Jersey Rock Gym is one of the first gyms I ever went to, and it was a super old gym, and everyone that climbed there knew each other, and that's kind of what it felt like at all the gyms in the Northeast. But now it kind of seems like the gyms are getting huge. Like I don't know, I feel like I'm just reciprocating what Will said. You're not gonna see everyone in the gym that you know, but at the same time, I do want to mention I feel like we're starting to see a lot of small training facilities and like small, like mom and pop gyms, for lack of a better word, pop up, which I think is really cool. And I think is kind of maybe the future of something. I don't know. I like where that's heading. I think that's really cool. And I'm excited to see where that goes.
Me too. I hope that's it. Like, I think the consolidation stuff is necessary. Like I think it makes sense to have these large operators that excel at going into unserved markets and like bring new people into climbing, introduce it to them, like people who've never done it before. I think that's good for the sport. Makes a ton of sense. No problem with that. But I think that we're reaching a point in the industry where it's growing large enough that we can sort of have both things, even in the same markets, where you can have these large operators who are really focused on bringing in new people and operating a business as such, but then also having these kind of smaller, more niche facilities, like not huge, low overhead, smaller communities, more purpose built for like specific things that people want, to where, you know, when you have these big consolidated gym chains that are bringing a lot of people into the sport, like at some point, some percentage of those people are no longer going to be served by that model, and then having places for them to sort of evolve into. I like to think that the industry is moving that direction and is going to be able to support that and continue to grow. So that's my hope. I'm with you, Austin. I think it's cool, and I hope we see more of it.
That's really my hope. I just to present like the bear case, we had this massive influx of climbing. Like climbing just became cool in the early 2010s. They put gyms into areas, and all of a sudden people started to climb because it was almost like, it wasn't a chicken and egg thing. It was like, if you put a climbing gym in this market that's never seen climbing before, now we have climbers. Where before there was no climbing, and so there weren't climbers. So we had this massive growth of new climbers that felt like it got oversaturated. Then you have this like low cost, conglomerate idea of just a chain everywhere trying to capture all of that. But then it seemed like they grew too fast. They weren't making money. And my concern is that it contracts. You have people that the only business model can be that kind of plain vanilla low cost thing. But the other way it could happen is there's so many people climbing. There's so many people that love this. Now there's room for differentiation in the market. You might have, well, maybe I want the 24-hour fitness boring ladders. Maybe I want ultra premium bouldering setting that I'll get at Carlo's gyms. Maybe there's a youth training center. Maybe there's a board gym. And that's really my hope and where I think it's going. I just can't help but be concerned. Like I think we're doing well. I think we're past the consolidation phase. But like Carlo was saying, if the macro doesn't support it, I don't want to be the negative guy. Actually, I'm usually the positive guy. But that's just my own concern.
I don't see the closures as negative that we have seen. I mean, not to be too callous, but like some businesses need to go under. Like they're not all good. Some people opened businesses in markets where it was not going to work and they were holding on by a thread anyway, and they just made a mistake. Some people opened in great markets but didn't deliver. And then somebody else came in and did. And then another gym goes out of business. Like I think if anything, I almost take that as a more of a positive, because I think it's worse when you have this like crazy growth where just any operator can come in, throw up four walls and hire somebody to put grips up and like have it work. I would rather be in a market and in an economy where you do actually have to do it well to be successful. You can't just put one up wherever you want and print money. Like, I don't think that's good for the sport.
I think it's an interesting point, and something that I've seen happen. It's not always this way, but I have seen gyms get built that are big, expensive, and just not well run. And I think it's a detriment to the community in that way. It's kind of this odd thing where it's like you've got people with a lot of money and they want to do something cool and with that money, and they see a climbing gym as a cool way to spend that money, and they build something massive with all the newest stuff, but they don't support it with good route setting, good management, good ways of cultivating a community. And then it blocks the ability for someone who is a good operator and someone who can provide that stuff from coming in. And there are situations that have happened and that I've seen happen. And it's not, I wouldn't say it's not always this way, and it's definitely more rare, but it has happened and I've watched it. And it is a bummer for people that live in those communities because, you know, I've chatted with them and they're like, yeah, it's like the only gym around, but everyone kind of hates it because, you know, they're really mean to their employees, or they're, you know, the setting is terrible. They don't invest anything in anything, and they kind of just have built it and they're just hoping for the best, but they've got members and they've got money coming in because it's the only thing around. And they're like, you know, people ask me, they're like, would you open up a gym near there? And I'm like, not really. Like, I would love to be able to do that, but really the basic needs are met. And like, in terms of having a facility, and it's really expensive to build a climbing gym. You know, it's not cheap. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of effort. It's a huge risk. You're talking about, you know, either buying a piece of property, or leasing on a 10, 20-year lease that you're locked into. And that's a lot of risk, you know, like I want to overstate that. I've talked to a lot of people about them wanting to start climbing gyms. And when I talk to them about the risks, the financial risks involved with it, it's like most people would run and bury their head in the ground because it's just not something that you want to like get into unless you're very, very confident in what you're capable of. And when people ask about coming into these areas where they're not happy with the gym, I'm just like, man, it's either the gym that's currently there is just actively going under and no one's going and they're driving elsewhere that would lead me to do something there, or, you know, it's got to be pretty bad, you know. It's hard to warrant moving into an area that is already served to some degree, you know.
Yeah, it's funny. You mentioned like gyms that aren't run well and this and that. And I don't want to name anything, obviously, but I can think of a bunch off the top of my head around my like New York area within like a 2-hour radius where I'm just like, man, if that gym didn't open up there, you could have had a more specialized gym that was serving a greater purpose than a kind of another run-of-the-mill birthday party climbing gym that kind of serves almost no one. Like you said, it kind of just feels like a money grab. I think at the end of the day, maybe what we're all saying is we kind of like the idea of more specialized gyms that are more community-based. And I think it's sick to see that Carlo is kind of heading in that direction too.
Trying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I like that you guys pointed out that it's that whole idea when the tide goes out, you can see who's wearing a swimsuit or not. I can't remember how it goes exactly, but just that it's like removing another one, separating the wheat from the chaff. Like that is a good point.
Yeah,
like,
or like a controlled burn, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. So it overexpands, get rid of the crap. And then it also makes me think in those markets that maybe you have a gym that's not great, but has grown the community, right? Again, like you put a gym in the middle of nowhere and you create a community over the course of time, maybe does open up room for a smaller differentiated gym that is targeted. So that's kind of cool. Okay, we got to keep rolling because Austin, you were late, so it's your fault. Austin, you were late because you're in Boone. You're doing what there? Just spray a little, man. Just tell us about
Happily. So we did a Mad Rock trip out in Boone. Taylor McNeil invited us all, and I think it was Matt, me, Taylor, Sarah, Jesse, Siri, Kenny, and Bruce.
Give these last names, dude.
Oh, shoot.
We don't know everyone. Come on.
Matt Fultz. Well, see, the problem is I don't know. I think Jessie Wentz, lives around here. Sarah Gerhardt, Taylor McNeil, Siri Sahara, Austin Hoyt, which is me, Bruce, who's Three Peaks Films, and Kenny Suh, who's the CEO of Mad Rock. There we go. I think I hit it all.
That's a solid crew. Honestly, I feel bad you got to hang out with Taylor all week. You know, it's like such a tough guy to be around.
Yeah, you know, We actually don't get along. We actually have a lot of fights, and we're like an old married couple.
Fights and stuff.
I was hoping he'd poke his head in
Dude,
and say hi, give a little cameo there.
He was right here, and I looked at him, and I was like,
Don't do that.
He just got out of the hot tub. So.
I love giving shit to Taylor because that's all he does to everybody else is just give a lot of shit.
I love him. But we just, had a week of climbing, and apparently we had perfect weather, which is unheard of in Boone. And he was touring us around some of the sickest blocks around. We went to Levity, which is a really sick V13 dyno. We went to Beekeeper, which is another like really amazing V13 crimp rig. And then we went to this place called Linville Gorge, which is just like the prettiest area with amazing rock. It's like, it feels like a super hard sandstone, almost like quartzite sandstone that you're climbing on. And then the last few days I spent just romping around by myself. I managed to send a pretty cool project that I tried day one. And I did this like legendary boulder called the Intermounting Flame, which is maybe the coolest boulder I've ever done. The run and jump start and a dyno finish. So it's been fucking sick out here.
Hell yeah.
Why don't people go there more? Is that why you guys trying to put on the map, or like is it going to be the new spot for 2026?
Boone's been on the map, man, for years.
That's not
degree.
True, dude. It's on the
Yeah,
map,
it has,
but no one
man.
goes there.
Boone
I put a couple trips in there back in the day. Boone's awesome, man. I think it's the weather. That's the problem is the weather always with those areas.
It's
out
the
there.
weather and the land. When you get out east, that was one of the coolest things for me moving west is when you're back east, like everybody owns everything. Like there's like hardly any public land. Like, and even the public land that is there is like, it's way different than it is out west here. And what's been sick for me is like moving out because I like to explore, but I also don't like getting shot. So being out here and being able to be like, just get on Google Earth or like just look out and be like, I'm going to just go over there and it's going to be fine. And I'm allowed, like, that's sick. But yeah, you get east and yeah, man, like people own stuff. People are pretty intense.
That's why Will
it.
moved to Colorado because he wants to roam around in the woods and not get shot.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge plus.
True.
It's a huge plus.
No, I love that. It simplifies the whole thing, but I totally agree. It is nice to be able to explore and not feel like somebody's coming for you for sure. Cause it's true. It's a fair point.
And you gotta manage, the community's gotta manage it in a different way too. Like, I mean, people, and I've been on the other side of this as well, where you're like, oh, everybody's gatekeeping or this and that and whatever. You're like, nah, man, like it's sort of just the way it has to be. Like you can't.
You will get shot.
You will. Yeah. People do. Like because a lot of the public land is game land and the climbing season is hunting season. And so like in Pennsylvania, we did it was funny, like early on with Tension, we did a blaze orange, like Pennsylvania signature Tension logo shirt because like a lot of that climbing is on game lands and a kid got shot and died.
Oh my
Wait,
God.
like a climber got shot and died?
A boulder.
I was laughing.
Yeah, well, because they're not. They're drunk.
No, I'm not laughing.
They're drunk out there.
I'm
dude.
sorry, that's terrible. No, I'm not laughing.
It's horrible.
I'm just like,
it's horrifying.
just the way Will's saying it, where I'm just like, that's. I mean, it's honestly just crazy. Like that's. Crazy.
It's crazy, but like it's not. It's not like it doesn't happen. Like it happened. It happens. Like it's just a different world.
I'm laughing at the incredulousness of it, not the exact situation, because that's terrible that someone got shot and died.
Yeah.
But.
Well, I mean, I'm so callous to it now because like everyone bitches about it out here, and like you can't project the way that you live here in the West to the people back east and vice versa. Like it's just different. Everyone's dealing with different things and doing their best, and it's not that people are trying to like gatekeep or not allow, like you're not cool enough or whatever. It's like it's a survival mechanism more than anything.
Do you guys remember that South Park where they would go hunting and because they didn't have permits, they would yell like, it's coming right for us. And then they'd shoot the animals. Like, I just have this vision of like Austin, like in the woods, just like, like climb on some boulders and just some guys like, he's coming right for us. That's
dude. There's some, even in the gunks, there's some stories of people getting chased off with shotguns pointed at them off of like dropping off the top out of boulders. It's like, you got to get out of here right now. It's crazy out east. And like Will said, it's not gatekeeping per se. It's just like, if everyone knew where this boulder was, it would get shut down. People would get shot. It's just like, I think the biggest part is, I think a lot of the time in the East Coast, we're just really against pins. I think we're okay with you going out and finding the boulder, and like, if you can get there, that's sick. But we just don't want pins out there, because when there's pins to the boulders, that's when the crowds. And unfortunately, I had to learn the hard way. I sent a lot of people pins to this boulder that was near and dear to my heart, and I put a lot of time into it, and I did. It was like one of my biggest things I did at the time. And fast forward a few months, and everyone started going, and it got shut down, and I haven't been back since, and no one has. So it really sucks, but that's how it goes.
So where are we learning about this trip to Boone? It's like, make sure you bring your own gun. Make sure you wear bright orange, and the weather's terrible. Okay, sounds like an awesome trip, dude.
Well, no, go. There are areas that you can just go to. Like that, there's guidebooks. It's all secure. It's dope. Like, please go there. Like, get a lay of the land, understand how to like operate in that region and whatnot, make some friends, and then go to those other boulders.
And then DM Taylor for pins and annoy him.
Yeah, everyone DM Taylor McNeil for all the pins you want in the East Coast. He'll love that.
And shout out Taylor for his new one out there. That thing looks sick. I know he put a lot of work into that one. So
yeah,
that's rad.
Dude, we went to it. We got some nice footage of it too. It's gonna be sick.
Wait,
Sick.
that's not
Yeah,
that like
sick.
9A squeezer he posted about? Is it something different?
Different one, yeah. And I guess to end the Boone or I don't know if this is the end, but I feel like this is important to say. All the locals here say this, and I feel like I have to say now. Boone sucks. Tell your friends.
Exactly.
Are we going to be allowed to like put this
sucks.
out? I guess you guys are already putting out like a movie about doing the Mad Rock trip, so maybe you guys are the ones blowing it up. Like, but we'll have to check. Like, do we have to like bleep out Boone every time in this podcast so that no one knows?
Just blame Taylor. It's all right.
Oh, okay. Quick break while I tell you about today's sponsor. Thank you to all the patrons who help make this show possible. Join them so you can get episodes early before anyone else, and those episodes are ad-free. As a patron, you also get to submit questions for upcoming guests. The answers to those questions are only available to patrons. Follow the link in the show notes to join now. You also get access to a private Discord where you'll find me and other people who want to go from good to great. Okay, back to the pod. All right. Well, we will call that the end of the segment because we just have so much on the docket. And that's because breaking news, Sean Bailey posts his send of Arrival of the Birds. It was something that everyone paid attention to when Aiden Roberts did, because I just felt like there wasn't that much media around it, despite it being right in Switzerland, right near a bunch of stuff. And we're just like, yeah, it's hard. Aiden said it was in his style. And I didn't hear about a lot of people trying it. Carlo, you tried it though. Tell us more. And actually just congrats, Sean. Way to see you back. Just crushing. Just love seeing that video.
Yeah. Congrats, Sean. Sean's a monster. He's an absolute monster. I mean, he's been that way for a long time. And like I've said before, I think there's sends that people still don't know about, and it's not my job to put them out there, but he's a monster. And that one I know kind of it seemed to fit him really well, which is cool. And I mean, that doesn't take away from the accomplishment at all. It's rad to see him do it. And the video was sick. It was just destroyed it kind of. Although he looked like he was trying for sure hard, like he's breathing hard and stuff. And
rare to
I like
see him try hard. Yeah.
Yeah. Like the pureness of the video, which is just kind of like the raw moment. He's like by himself and just kind of getting after it. And it's cool to see. I'm psyched for him. It's sick. The boulder's rad. I tried it when it was a project back. I think I played on it. I wouldn't say tried it because I didn't really put significant effort into it. But like my first trip there in 2010, I saw that line and I was just like, oh, this kind of be cool. But I couldn't hang any of the holds, and I don't think I can really hang many of them now, to be honest. They're like, the wall is really glassy. It's got like this polish to it. And then it's got these seams that are rounded at the start. And then in the back of it are like kind of sharp, like the bite starts in the back of the seam. And so you like roll your fingers into it and it's almost slick, but then right at the back is kind of sharp and textured. And that's not all the holds, but that was kind of the defining characteristic of some of the harder holds on that. And it's a really kind of unique feel to it because you got to be really accurate getting into the back of these things. And then they bite. But they seem like they're going to be a bigger hold than they are, but because of that slickness on the front edge of it, they're like a lot worse, and it's really hard to stay on the wall. And it's like all of a sudden you're just like, I have no more friction, I'm out, you know? So it's not just like your normal small bitey crimp. They're very unique.
Would you say they're kind of like because I kind of feel like the swarm hold is a little like that. The hold you jump to, you're like, oh, wow, look at this big hold, but it's actually really slick, and you're holding this really thin, sharp section in the back. Is it kind of
like that, but a lot worse. Like that holds a jug. It would be a jug.
Would be a jug, yeah.
Yeah.
See, I told you,
a jug.
Yeah. Just telling me how the swarm's a jug.
And it's mainly because the profile of the front of the holds are really round, like really rounded, sloped, rather than like a flat slope, like a flat glassy edge that has a sharp bit in the back. They're like not holdable really on the front side of it at all. So,
and Carlo, you said it was only like 10 or 20 degrees overhung, and are the feet like, what are the feet like on it?
The feet are really slippery and glassy for the most part. Like they're not great, although they're not like terrible. You know, they're techie feet. They're small. And like I said, it's been now 2 years since I was there when Aiden did it or whatever. And, you know, tried it a little bit then. I like just tried to kind of pull on in certain situations, and I got to watch him give some good goes on it. And I was just like, damn, this feels next level for sure in terms of that style. But yeah, they're very like the foot positions are really tensiony. Like, it's like with that bad of holds, usually you're like, oh, if I have feet that are under me, I can kind of like engage with these things the way that I want to. But the feet are very like awkward, kind of offset, and they're kind of out to the left, but then like some of them are awkwardly high. And there's just a lot of tension required to like stay on the feet, and you like need the feet to work well in order to do well on the boulder, because the holds are so bad. And so I do think, yeah, you got to be very technically proficient on bad feet to make it work. You can't just show up and be like really strong in the fingers and do well. So
Austin, my hunch is that you watched this video at least once, twice, or three times. And my hunch is that you also watched Aiden's video of when he did the FA. Did you notice if they use the same beta? Like, is there any, did they like end up doing it the exact same?
I think they didn't. I don't remember exactly, but I thought Aiden did a heel hook somewhere maybe, and like a left heel or a right heel or a heel hook somewhere. And I don't think Sean used the heel, but like you said, the video just dropped for Sean. The first time I saw the video was like an hour ago, honestly. So I'm not sure if they did the exact same beta, but I do want to say the way Carlo describes it and just all the photos and everything, it's definitely like a dream line for me. That one, it just sounds like almost vert crimping. I have thin fingers, you know, I like the getting into the back of holds. Like, it kind of just sounds amazing, and I'm glad seems like it's getting its flowers now.
It's a cool line. Should go do it.
I'll try.
You should go
Sounds
do
like
it.
the opposite of what I want to do in Switzerland. Like, I would go to Switzerland to like avoid vertical crimping. But Austin, since you called the swarm
Everyone
a jug,
was quiet.
Yeah, maybe you'll like it.
I did want to say really quick, I feel like this fits into this section. I don't know if it's like a hot take or something, but I want to see more pro climbers like spray about their shit. Like, you know what I mean? I feel like Sean like is so good. He's one of the best in the world. And he posted a grainy video on Instagram where we can't really like, there's really still no good footage of arrival. Like, I don't know. I feel like me and all of my era are really into this, like watching the pros spray. Like, we look up to them, you know? And I feel like that's something I want to see come back. I know it used to be no spray, nothing, blah, blah, blah. But I feel like it's totally changed now with social media. Everything is different about it now. And I'm kind of into the spray era.
Well, for all we know, this happened like 3 years ago. Like, we don't really know.
Yeah.
But I really agree with you, Austin. But the thing I don't agree with is that I don't think it was like, don't spray, don't spray, don't spray. It was that we don't have social media. It was like, it comes out in the magazine like 3 months later, and that was spraying. It's just, that was the social media. And I agree with you where I don't love the holding on to sends. To me, it's somehow like manufactured. It's like fake. It's like we are not showing it, even though it happened. But, you know, I also got to applaud Sean for taking a very opposite approach, right? You just say, well, no, I completely disagree. Rather than put it out there right when it happens, I'm going to hold it back and do some big thing around it. So, you know, I could argue each way, but what do you think? What do you think, Will?
I don't know. I think it's, well, one, I think it's a pendulum. I think you you look at this in other sports, you see it too, where like, for a certain number of years, it's cool to like stomp the trick and celebrate, and all your boys are like cheering. And then the next set of 5 to 10 years, like the goal is to like stomp the trick and then like act like nothing happened and it was no big deal. And that's like the cool thing to do. And so I think it's similar in climbing, like to each their own. And yeah, to your point, Josh, like if that's what Sean's psyched to do, then like, hell yeah, like I'm psyched to see him do him. But at the same time, like I also kind of agree with Austin, and I want to see it. Like I want to see the holds. I want to know what the climb is like, and I want to be psyched and like follow somebody's accomplishments. But I think that the current kind of social media landscape has lent itself to kind of overblowing accomplishments and making it so it's like things it has to be this constant stream of like, oh, I'm doing this and it's so important to me because of this. And like, I feel so accomplished. And then like 2 weeks later, you're like, oh no, this is the most, like, this is the coolest thing I've ever done. It's like, I don't know. I feel like I'm lucky if I get to do one truly cool thing for myself every year. It's not like a weekly occurrence. Like I'll do boulders weekly, but like, it's like, I don't know. It's like another cool boulder. I had a fun time outside with my friends, and it's not that I'm not spraying about it. It's just, sometimes I just want to go climbing and not fucking worry about it. So I guess I get it from both sides. And I think that nowadays the incentive is to spray so much, so hard, that I understand the kind of reaction to that being like, I'm just not going to say anything.
Yeah. I think Sean can do whatever he wants, like he can do what he wants, but he has to understand too that there's repercussions to like not sharing stuff that you're doing. If you're looking for support from the industry, if you're looking to, get certain things out of the community monetarily or elsewise, some type of support, then you do have to be promoting to some degree. And so it's fine to be silent about stuff, and it's fine to like not talk about your accomplishments. It's like, that's on you. You like do what you want to do. Like, it doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter to anybody else, but you do have to understand that comes with the caveat of like not getting the same recognition, support like elsewise, and so I think that's the trade-off. For me, I always drew the line at like, I'm very uncomfortable spraying about things that I'm working on. Like, I don't like to talk about my process before I've reached some kind of a conclusion with it, because I feel like it dilutes the experience for me. I'm not trying to clue everybody in on, like, I'm working on stuff all the time, like projects all the time. Like, I've got a project going all the time, and I almost never share those things because a lot of times they don't work out, and that is what it is. And that's just my personal process. But I feel like the thing that I'm most uncomfortable with the spray nowadays is just people spraying about trying stuff and not having like a logical conclusion to it, where you're just like, year 6 of trying this boulder, and here's the same videos of me getting closer and celebrating these tiny little accomplishments. And I'm like, that's cool, like, for you to like do those things, and you should celebrate your accomplishments and stuff, but to be constantly spraying about it, I feel like they're almost like relying on, you're almost like taking the value of the boulder and then like associating it with yourself before you've actually done anything, or the route that you're trying or whatever. Like, there's almost like this cross contamination there. And I do agree with Will's point for sure. Like, I think that the most sprayed about things on the internet right now are not the biggest things that are happening in climbing. Like, we've got feature length films about accomplishments that are like not that great, in my opinion, like comparatively. And then there's, or like big films have been done about things that are just not that big of a deal, and then there's, people putting up first ascents that are seriously like standard setting or massive accomplishments that just don't really, have that much spray out there about them, So it's a weird like discrepancy in the spray landscape these days. It's like the money getting put behind some of these things. I'm just like, this is insane, because this is not really that big of a deal in the climbing landscape, and then you've got Sean posting some of his bigger sends and like grainy no caption Instagram stuff. And you're like, I mean, that's cool, but like, it'd be cool if there was a little bit more of a balance on those things. Like, I do want to see like high production, like full on storyline behind like things that are really a fucking big deal, you know?
Well, hopefully we get to see both of those. Like, I think you did this, Carlo, where you did the dark side and you posted about it, and we even did a podcast about it. And then also you put out like a full feature length film that was great. And I guess from my perspective, like, I think Sean is incredible, and I will consume every content that he puts out. I'd love to follow along both on the journey of him doing it, then also telling the story behind it. And I hear what you're saying about delineating between working on something versus doing it. And the both sides of that is, there's studies that show that if you talk about something, you like get little dopamine rewards about it, even without doing it. And I feel like it does take away from the actual thing. But then I also see guys like Will Bosey posting about silence. And I think Will's just, Bosey's just doing Bosey. Like, I'm okay with that too. And so I don't know. I think that the meta there is like what you guys were both saying, like, well, let Sean be Sean, and maybe I'd like to see more of it, but however he wants to do it, maybe there's pros, maybe there's consequences as well. But either way, congrats, Sean, on just incredible send. I can't wait to see the hopeful feature length film about it.
Yeah. I mean, I want to mention one more thing, because I've been thinking about this a lot and trying to figure out like, what is the line? Because we've mentioned this like a couple of times, and like what Carlo's saying, like this association with a thing that you kind of haven't done, or like aren't even going to do. And I think that the line for me, or like the one that I see, cause like you could be Will Bosey, and like, I don't get any bad vibes from that. But I think it's when people use other people to like mediate their own feelings about themselves, where like you have to be putting this stuff out so people will click it and like it. And then you're like, oh, cool. Other people feel good about this thing, so now I can feel good about myself. That I think is the problem. Like, if you're feeling good about yourself and you're sharing something out of a genuine place of like, I'm psyched and like, I'm not watching the likes rack up and don't need other people to give a shit about it for me to give a shit about it, like about myself. How could you be mad about that? I think it's that kind of nefarious little bit that I think social media really plays on in all of us, where it's like, if other people think it's cool, then I can think it's cool. And it's like, just think it's cool. Just be yourself and have that internally.
It's harder than ever to climb for yourself because of the social media landscape,
I only climb 5-star bangers and post about only the
See, the key is you just get injured and you don't climb, and then you're just like not even a part of it, and
we talked about Carlo's most recent things. We talked about Austin's most recent things. We're not going to talk about your most recent injury, Will. That's not on the docket. We can save that for some other day. I don't want to talk about it. It makes me sad for you.
You don't want your sympathy hits, dude? Come on, Will.
I don't want any of my sympathy hits. I don't want my dopamine.
Okay, guys. You guys were in Switzerland. Sean Bailey did Arrival of the Birds. Good job. Also in Switzerland, Janja did everything. No, she did.
Hell yeah.
Dreamtime. She did La Prue, The Dagger. And the problem is that I already had Janja on the docket because she just flashed 8C plus 9A, whatever you want to call it. Was it Puro Dreaming? Dude, she is just freaking on one. I named all those climbs, but that just happened in like a week.
She did those 3 boulders in a day. By the way,
in a day.
The ones you mentioned.
It's cool to see like an actualization of like the level, which I feel like is really hard to see in the comp world, because you just don't. You see that she's beyond everybody else on the comp side, but that doesn't show her within like the greater climbing landscape. And to see that actualization is amazing. And honestly, beyond just the accomplishments, like watching that Dreamtime video and just seeing like the precision and skill and just authority with which she like climbed it, was just rad. I'm like, damn, she's a really, really good rock climber. Like maybe one of the best I've ever seen, like, period. Like, I think, Adam's obviously like right up there, but yeah, like she's just the way she moves and strength and all of the stuff is all there. And it's incredible to see. It's very cool. I love watching that stuff because it's just seeing somebody move so efficiently just brings me like a lot of joy just because that's kind of what I always am like trying to do better at. And so it's rad.
That's what really stood out to me was just the comfort. You said authority, which is awesome because she really did just execute and climb beautifully. But to me, it was just that the comfort, the relax, the movement on rock. I mean, we know she's a good climber. We've watched her win the fucking Olympics. But just the way she was so twice. Thanks, Austin. And Will, you had a comment on this that I really wanted to make sure we brought up, just her kind of dominance in the competition scene. And yes, moving into rocks, or I don't want to say moving into it, doing it when she's not competing. And just wanted to hear you expand on that idea of seeing what she's capable of on real rock and why it might hold some, future for her.
Yeah. I mean, I absolutely cannot speak for her, but just from like an outside looking in, like she looks like an animal to me, like she wants to hunt and she just keeps getting in these comps. Like no one's setting her anything. Like she just does them all. Like we could probably count on two hands how much she's fallen in the last World Cup season. Like that's insane. And so if you're that person, I'm sure it's really fulfilling to just be hyper dominant in the comp scene, but you got to think that she's like itching to just fight for something, And what's so cool about rock climbing is like you kind of can never win. There's always going to be a boulder out there you can't do. And so my guess / hope is that she's starting to find some of that outside, like things that she can actually sink her teeth into and like show what she's made of. Cause I really just don't think we get to see it in the comps. And so I'm just super, super excited to watch and see. And like Carlos said, she moves so well. Like it's just a joy to watch and I think for all of us to get to see such a generational talent, like in our lifetimes, just she looks set up to just go on a run that I don't think we will ever see anybody do again.
I have a theory. I think the fact that she's so used to doing basically V13, probably V13 level boulders in 4 minutes at every competition she goes to, that's why she moves so, I mean, like Will, I can't speak for her, but like you said, she moves with dominance. She probably could have done Dreamtime in 4 minutes if she had to. It looked like it, Like, I feel like that, for lack of a better word, that comp kid training where you're like, okay, I got to lock in for 4 minutes and I'm going to execute at the highest level I can for these next 4 minutes. I think when you turn that to outdoor climbing, you kind of unlock this new level. And we're starting to see that with like Kamoa going to try Burden too. Like, you're like, damn, like they're all getting out there and after it and they're trying the hardest things in the world and they're doing the hardest things in the world. It's pretty inspiring.
Carlo, you competed a lot and you've projected a lot. While it is incredible to see someone just take that approach of doing their hardest boulder or doing very hard boulders in 4 minutes, that's very, very different from sitting under a boulder for 4 months. What do you think about changing that mindset, or is that like a guarantee that she could just switch into hard projecting mode?
Well, I mean, we've talked about it on the podcast, and I think you've talked about it with other people too, but like execution is like such a huge component of like that upper tier pro climber. And those people stand out in their ability to execute. And yeah, the 4 minute on, 4 minute off comp kind of formatting, it teaches you how to execute. It teaches you how to turn it on and know what you can do in that moment. And I think that's the same in outdoor climbing, like for me, the projecting process is like figuring out the moves, which can take more time. It's not obviously that like the same as like a comp where you're just like, I got to like commit to a beta and just try and do it because I don't have time to sort this out perfectly. Whereas outside, it's like, yeah, you give your flash go, but then you're like, okay, let me sort this out, make everything feel right. And then now we execute. And I think that moment of being like, I know I can do this. I know how to do all the moves. Now execute is where you see the comp climbers that are really good at that shine, and obviously like Janja's proven that, she can do it at the absolute highest level of any human that's ever rock climbed, and it, she can execute right then and do it perfectly. And so I think that, maybe there's a little bit of like a learning curve of like, I got to spend a little bit more time to figure out the best way to do these moves. But then when the time comes to execute, like it's all there beyond what anyone else can do. So I think that there's differences, but I think overall, Austin's right. Like that helps so much coming from that. And also just from like pushing all of your effort into a small window is like one of the best ways to like get stronger. Like when I trained back in the day, like my best sessions were basically taking like all of these hard climbs that I knew I could do in the gym and then smushing them into smaller and smaller windows. And so that I was basically climbing everything with like a high degree of like, fatigue already in my body. And that's what prepared me best for like outdoor climbing and for, getting better throughout a session, doing better in comps, like all of it. And, comp training does that for you. And, obviously some of those top level comp athletes kind of have that to a very, very high degree. So.
Yeah, clearly the ability is there. I guess I just wonder if she's going to fall in love with the process of finding something that she can't do at that moment and then banging her head against the wall to unlock those moves. And then it does sound like, though, what you're pointing out is that once those moves are possible for her and she knows they're possible, it's going to happen because she's able to put them together so quickly. I still think there's a bit of a like falling in love with the extended approach versus just that instant gratification of doing Dreamtime, 2 other 8Bs in a day.
It's a fair point. And I think we'll still see something that's standard setting from Janja in the outdoor space without that crazy amount of effort. Like, I think that we could easily see her push the overall bar in some form of outdoor climbing beyond where it's currently at for any gender, with her current abilities without her putting like an insane amount of effort into something. Like, I think she's at that level. But I do agree. Is she going to be motivated enough to like, and is she going to find something that inspires her enough that maybe puts us a couple bars beyond that? And I think that that's possible for sure. Like, I think if she finds something and she decides that she's motivated on that level for it, and it's like, that V18 plus or, 16A, like I think she could do that if she put the time in, and found the right challenge. But that's up to her. That's pure speculation on our part at this time. We don't know. Like, you can't fault her for not finding that, or like not everyone wants to engage with climbing on that level. Like, I didn't like doing that early on. Like, I think when I did the game in 5 days, 5 sessions. And that was by far the longest project I'd ever had. And that was after, more than, I think that was like right around 10 years of climbing, or a little less than 10 years of climbing for me. I've had other projects that have gone longer now for sure, but I had to like make that jump of being like, I'm okay with not having success for a long period of time to have like these bigger projects like realized essentially. But it was definitely like a moment where I knew I was like, okay, I'm about to go into the hole, and like, I might not come out with it feeling very good, because if it doesn't work out, like, I've really got nothing else to back up on, like I just, there were moments for sure where I go years without feeling successful. And I'm honestly kind of in that process right now. Like, after the dark side, like I've had a few things that I was psyched on, but I haven't had anything big. But, the bigger projects that I have are big, and they're going to take multiple years for me to realize. And I've got to be okay with, I don't have as much time to put into everything. So I have to be okay with the fact that there's not going to be many dopamine hits, on social media between now and then,
Well, one of the most wild things about what we're talking about with Janja pushing the sport is that we were just talking about bouldering, but right before it, she just flashed that 8C plus. Honestly, what sounded like, again, we can't speak for Janja, is that it sounded more like a 9A on-site than an 8C plus flash, based on kind of like the reports around her not using knee bars. I just find it fascinating that it's hard for us to even know which area of the sport she would want to push because she's having success in both of them. And yeah, I don't know anything jump out to you about that send either, Will, because that's what I had initially on the docket was Janja just casually going on a little rest day and flashing maybe the hardest route that a woman ever has. And, just as a kind of sideshow, oh, hey, just go do that.
Yeah. I mean, I think I've actually really liked the discourse around that send. I like hearing that it was kind of more of an onsite than a flash, but it technically wasn't an onsite. And I like that being a really hard to find line. It adds to the ascent in my mind, to hear about that. But at the same time, I don't think that we should be talking about it as a 9A onsite because it just wasn't. But it, at the very least, it was an 8C plus flash, which is ridiculous. And there are all sorts of asterisks to that 8C plus flash that actually make it even more impressive. Like the fact that really didn't get much beta at all and also didn't wear a knee pad, which, when it was previously when some people were considering it 9A and then they found the knee bars and actually I think Andra's insight of you can use the knee bars without the knee pad and they still help. She just didn't happen to do that. And just because you do a climb not so great, not saying she didn't do it. It's obviously it's Janja, but
just because you miss beta doesn't mean you get more points.
Yeah. You can't just choose to make it hard and then up the grade. I mean,
I'm going to skip that hold and get more points for it.
Yeah. So it should be hard to do these things. And if anything, I would almost think it would motivate her. I don't think nobody wants the let's call it a 9A flash, but have it, these asterisks actually negate some of that. I like it this other way around where it's this 8C plus flash and there are all these other extenuating circumstances that make it even more impressive. And it's clear that if there's someone out there right now who's primed up to flash or onsite 9A or 9A plus, I think we know who that is. And that's so sick.
Super cracking net. That's my guess. Janja's going to try a flash super crack. Cause I mean, the beta's out there from both, Rigora and Andra doing it. And it's perfectly set up as a height that someone who is experienced in climbing could flash. So just seeding the world that I hope to see that. That'd be really cool.
Can I ask real quick, what you guys say that it was basically an on-site? Are you guys saying that because you was there something that said she saw a video or I don't remember what the differentiator was.
Evidently based on the reports, she didn't have that much information that the beta that she got was minimal. And that was showcased by her basically missing a large rest and doing some sequences a little bit incorrectly or trying them backing off and then doing them appropriately. And so, yeah, actually, I like, Will, that you pointed out that the discourse was good and healthy, that it wasn't hey, let's try to, blend these and add asterisks. It was just hey, it was really impressive what she did. An 8C plus flash is still really impressive. I like that the community was able to tease out those little fun nuances rather than it being a big argument. So good job, climbing. Good job.
Yeah. And now she can still 9A flash and probably will.
Yeah, might have already happened by the time this drops. Okay, you guys, let's move into the ethics segment. And there's actually a touch of a parallel here, a little interesting parallel. So James Climb Soft, excellent Instagram name, recently posted a very viral video of him climbing a V6 by strapping a shoe onto his other shoe to give him more reach so that he could reach a crimp.
With, I think, a rock in between the two shoes.
Oh, there's a rock too? Okay.
Yeah. And it should be noted that this guy is kind of a notorious troll, social media guy. So
I think I'm going to have a very different opinion than you guys.
How serious
how
it
hard
all
is this boulder?
V6. Yeah. Or
it's a V6.
Or maybe it was actually should have been a V5 when you strap something onto your shoe. The parallel that I was trying to make is that, had Janja put on a knee pad. Anyway, it was a bad parallel. James Climb soft, climbed something, made it softer by strapping a bunch of things to his shoe. Video got like 1 million views or something on Instagram. And Will, you may have taken issue with this, and I'd like to hear your thoughts. Was the send valid or not?
Oh, I mean, it's so simple. It's not valid. And neither is the first ascent of Sedaine Soul.
I don't agree with Will on this one, which I think is I'm like, man, if the strap-on shoe helps you up your V6, like go for it, you know? Like I think the bigger question for me would be like the book under the knee pad is a more interesting discussion, I think. Like the shoe under the shoe on the V6. I've always found that those kind of tricks is like, it's a shoe, like on a shoe, you know, like it's almost like it self weeds out. Like if you were on like a harder climb, you're not going to be able to do most of the moves up until that point with your shoe strapped on another shoe, or you're not gonna be able to do top out or whatever. And so it's like, I mean, I've tried tricks on other boulders.
Taking off your shoe on Spectre, just, you know, gotta point that out.
Yeah, I mean, Ethan did it. I was out there the day Ethan did it without the shoe on, but it made the top heinous.
But what if someone had tossed him a shoe?
No, I mean, we tried, but like he wasn't gonna be able to get it on like a shoe. And so it's like, and also like, that was kind of like, okay, you got like a little bit of an assist there or whatever, but he did the top without a shoe. And I'm just kind of like, well, he saved himself probably. Like, I mean, he was able to do it without the shoe for the crux move, but then he had to do the whole slab without a shoe on. And like, that's kind of rugged, especially if you know Bishop ran it. It's like, that's like not awesome. So I think it kind of levels itself out. Whereas like on a V6, it's like, sure.
Okay.
Strap your shoe to your shoe.
This is a wonderful ethics segment, because when it got brought up on the group thread, there was clear disagreement between Will and Carlo and Austin and me. And so before we go into some of those nuances, I just actually want to have Will state why it is an invalid send in your book. Like what is it that makes it not okay?
It's tough because I think you could come at it from two different angles, and I'm not entirely sure which is better. And I think one might actually be its own trap. So I'm going to try.
What if he just wore a platform shoe? Like, what if
I think that's silly too? I think that's silly too. Like,
he's got to wear climbing shoes, because that's not true. Because then we got Charles with his bare feet.
But that's less. But that's less. Like, if you wanted to set a marathon record barefoot, like, good fucking luck. You know what I mean? But like, if you want to set a marathon record with one of those,
with a
like,
bicycle,
springy, well, not even that, but like those springy carbon plates and stuff, there is a line somewhere. And typically, like in these other sports and activities where there are like professionals and like accomplishments mean something and have economic consequences and so forth, like there are things you can and can't do. And I think climbing is at a point where like nobody wants to say what you can and can't do. We're all just like, oh, it's climbing. You can do whatever the fuck you want. And I love that. And as a recreationalist, hell yeah, you can do whatever you want. But there's gonna have to come a time when like for professional climbing, certain things are like at the very least frowned upon. And in my head, I'm like, it's gotta be putting a book under your damn knee pad. Like, that's not your body anymore. Like like you're changing your morphology in order to like accomplish a goal. Where I feel like the shoe gets a pass because you're modifying a morphology you already have. Like, we use shoes in everything. Like it's a specialized shoe. But if you had a shoe that made your foot 2 inches longer or 2 inches wider, or like changed your morphology in a way that made it easier for you to accomplish that goal, like that's not rad to me. And that's what that stuff feels like.
The knee pad changes the morphology just depending on the thickness of the rubber and like where you got the knee pad.
Well, totally.
From,
and like I use the thinnest knee pad I can get away with, or I don't use one if I can get away with it. Like, I'm trying to not have to do it. Or like if I'm doing it, it's like, cause I'm going to like have a 6-inch bruise across my thigh for the next 6 weeks if I don't put something in between me and that thing.
My point is that I think it's self-policing in a lot of ways, because it's like you're not going to stick like, you know, an encyclopedia in your knee pad because it's going to be heinous to climb with. You know, it's like you can only go so far with it to like bridge a gap. And it's the same. It's like if I have a thin crack that I can't put my foot in, I could put on like an ocean flipper, you know, that has like a thin piece of rubber sticking out, but like good luck climbing the rest of the problem with your ocean flipper on, you know, like.
What about the dudes who did the free hallucinogen with modified ice axes and rock shoes? Like, what the fuck is that? Like, is that?
I mean, obviously we've drawn the line at like for your hands, you know, it's like you're not using like metal, you know, like it's not like ice climbing, you know, like you're not going to.
But what about hand jammies, Carlo? Why are you cheating so much?
The hand jammy, but people use tape on the back of their hands, and that's totally normal.
But tape is way harder than hand jammy.
I don't necessarily agree with that. Tape doesn't move around as much, which makes it easier. It's just tape's a pain in the ass to take on and off. And you can be more specific about the thickness of the tape and whatnot.
Yeah. So. I mean, crack climbers are all cheaters. We know this. Everyone's trying to loop that tape around their fingers so that rattly lock isn't so rattly anymore. I've been there. I know what they're doing.
I think for a second there, Will started to turn me, but I'm back on Team Carlo. I think he's totally right. I really do think that it is self-policing, and it's like he said, you're making one part easier to make the next part harder. It all evens out. And I have another example. My buddy Bryce Viola, he's all into all these tricks. And recently he taped a shoe. This one is going to be, he taped a shoe to his hand so he could mantle on a spike. And he was able to do this one mantle on a spike and grab the lip. But how's he going to do the rest of the boulder with a shoe taped to his hand, you know? So
Bryce did this?
Yeah, it was pretty sick.
I'm like that. Yeah, that's fun. I'm not saying like that you need to like get ostracized for doing shit like that, because it is fun. Like I've done whack stuff. I
think it's okay because like it's self-policing, and there's the other example of Pietro doing L'Ambre Voyage with 2 knee pads strapped on top of each other. And if one knee pad's okay, why isn't 2 okay? Like, what's the difference?
What's the wackiest thing you've done, Will?
What is the wackiest thing that I've done?
What's the wackiest trick you've done that worked?
Dude, I don't really do a lot of wacky tricks.
You don't have any wacky tricks?
No, like the wackiest thing I did is there's this like weird pockety hold that I needed to grab, and it was like basically impossible to hold on to, except for it was negative 15 degrees and my hands were so cold and hard that they turned into like little stoppers, and I was able to like slot my hard skin and like do the boulder. And it's not been repeated. And I think partly because
that's just
no one's willing to go out cold
temps,
enough to actually
that's good
do it.
All right.
People aren't willing to go out there when it's cold enough.
I want to span the gap here and kind of set the spectrum, because I hear what Will's saying, and I used to be more against you, Will, where I was like, hey, just go out and boulder. I can do whatever I want. It's me and the rock. Like, if I want to, quote unquote, cheat in Will's eyes, who cares? Because I'm sending it because I want to send it, and who cares what Will thinks? But Will, you've actually really convinced me on the other end of the spectrum of, if we have a sport called rock climbing, then there's going to be rules around it. And actually, this is, I got to shout out Jamie Emerson, who had that same kind of opinion. And like, look, what we're doing is arbitrary. So if it's going to be arbitrary, let's agree on some rules. Like, this is where it starts. This is cheating, or, like if you use an ice axe or if you chip, right? So let's set some ground rules where anything you do to alter the rock and change it for the next person, not okay. And I do agree with Will, where it's just like, we've got to come to some consensus so that when people are making money on these sends, and yes, they can be honest, but that doesn't even really solve the problem of the kind of weird things people might do, and there's weird incentives. And so I think we need to collectively have some kind of principles that we follow. But then my pushback on you, Will, is that let's say we all agree that it's not okay to wear 2 knee pads. Let's say we say just 1 knee pad is okay. Let's say shoe rubber can only be 2 millimeters, and all of a sudden you get someone to design you a special 10 millimeter shoe for that one V6. Not okay. But my concern still, Will, is that we do have technological changes, and like things have to get updated at times. And, now we do have knee pads. At one point we didn't. And like, I guess to me, the crux is like, we should have things we agree on and that are principle based, but then we need to like be open to, what climbing looks like in 50 years from now. Like it's going to change. It will change.
Well, I think that there's like, I think we can look to other sports for examples of this, because climbing is not unique in this area. And like, to go back to the marathon thing, like, people have broken the marathon record in shoes that are like, they're unofficial records. And they do that. And like, Nike is still working with like the best marathon runners to continue to advance shoe technology. Like, they're still making all this stuff. Like, the technology for shoes is not slowing down, but there is like an official record that you can set. And like, the rules do change for that sometimes. Like, we've seen it in swimming with those special suits that they had for a little bit. And then we're like, whoa. Like, we're not doing this. In bike racing, there are certain setups for your bike that you are or aren't allowed to use. In F1, like, and it's all arbitrary, because this is made up. Everything we're doing is made up. We just invented this. This isn't for anything. And so like, we have to draw the line somewhere. I think there's a lot of truth in what you guys are saying. And a lot of it sort of self-polices. Like, it might make one thing easier, but it makes the other thing harder. But I think there are instances where like, clearly, like, tactics that obviously I think are dubious at best have been used to accomplish things that have like promoted a person or an achievement to a certain level that I'm like, more power to them. But like, if you're asking me, I'm like, that doesn't really mean anything to me. Like, that just means like, if you take the book out from under the knee pad, then that guy didn't do that boulder.
I mean, I largely agree with you, Will, but like, the examples you bring up are mostly other sports that we're talking about. They're competitions, and we have those rules in competition and climbing. We're really just talking about like how we're kind of policing and managing the ethics and those issues as it relates to outdoor climbing. And I think people that are climbing their V6 project, it's kind of like, do what you want to do, And I think that the people that are using questionable ethics on like the higher end of the scale, then I think, as long as they're honest about what they did and not trying to hide stuff, then it's up to the community to decide whether that's like valid or not, And obviously with Sedane's Soul, the book, people were just like, yeah, sure, that sounds like a smart idea to like help out a little bit, And with other things, I bet people would just kind of be like, well, most of the people accepted that as okay. And,
I don't understand why.
I don't have a problem with the book, man. Like I said, just because I feel like all you would need to do to get rid of the book is, first of all, it was a tiny book. It wasn't that big. Second of all, you would just need to get a custom knee pad that would do the same thing, and it's like, I feel like that line is too close, in my opinion.
Mo Beta knee pad where he 3D printed.
I was going to say that.
It's set up in Austin. Yeah.
He 3D printed inserts for his knee pad and he Velcroed them in, and then he had basically in-cut knee pads. He could knee bar on like smears, but the angle of his knee was like in-cut, and now he could go he basically in the video couldn't do this knee bar and then put an insert in and then no hands and was turning to the camera and talking. It was crazy.
I just think that's whack.
I don't fully disagree, but I think what Carlo was saying with the competition side makes a lot of sense, but I do agree with you, Will, where you're saying like, if people are making money off of it, in a way, it kind of is like, quote unquote, a competition. Like, it's not a competition, but it's a job, and all jobs have rules, I guess. And I really see both sides. And honestly, now I don't know. I don't know which side I fall on anymore. You kind of turned me a little bit.
Austin, the rule for this podcast was just show up on time, by the way. Sorry, go ahead, Will. Go ahead, Will.
Well, just I think Carlo is really right about the competition side. Like, yeah, we have all these rules in competition, but I will give climbing its due. Like, it is unique in the sense that we do have this outdoor realm where accomplishments are the basis for people's employment in the industry, professional careers, and all this stuff. And so, like, I guess what I'm saying is I don't see any problem with extending the same kind of like discrete rulemaking that happens in competitions to this other area for professional climbers who are like doing these official, like our version of official records and ascents and things like that. And
is it realistic though?
I don't know. I really don't know how realistic it is, but I think like conceptually it doesn't bother me. And I think it is something that I don't think I would mind seeing happen. I don't necessarily know how, but I do like kind of in the meantime, it's that thing where like, yeah, if someone wants to do something wacky and climb their V6 on vacation, like by all freaking means, like have fun climbing. Like I'm not trying to dunk on that. It's more like,
yes, we are.
Are we going to allow like doing the first descent of the sit start of the Big Island? Like that was a big deal. And we let somebody do it without really having that conversation. I don't like, maybe we did. I don't recall it really being that much of a discussion. It was like he said it and everyone was like, oh, cool, he did it. And like, but to me, I was like, what are we even talking about here? Like the
French are more hung up on the use of the fans on it.
Yeah, that's what
I
was going to ask you, Will. I watched Carlo do the Big Island with a fan taped onto it. Did he send or not?
I have, and maybe this is me being a hypocrite, but I have less of a problem with the fans and like the condition modifying. Like I've tarped a boulder with like 100-foot tarp and I did it in the middle of a hailstorm in the aerials. Whoa. And topped out like and crawled out from under the tarp, you know?
Does that count?
I didn't dab. You can watch it. Like I rigged the tarp appropriately. You know what I mean? So like, I feel like if I can climb a boulder in the rain under a tarp, like I can have a fan and I can like wear a sweater if it's too cold. How come my sends get
taken away, but your guys' are always okay? This is ridiculous.
Because you dropped off.
Because I topped out, Josh. Even though it was wet and raining, I didn't drop off.
It's true.
Had I put a tarp up, it would have been no problem.
It would have been fine. Lesson learned.
You should have been more prepared.
All right.
I just want to say I nominate Will to be the head of the committee for policing outdoor ascents moving forward.
I agree.
And all outdoor ascents, all 1.5 to 2 million outdoor ascents need to be submitted to Will.
I'll just start moderating all of that. Yeah.
And that's all you're going to do all day long is just watch people's V4 sends with
just be like whack, whack.
Approve, deny. You get the big buttons in the room.
I really think though that is a big thing about separating the competition scene from the outdoors, but recognizing that in some ways there is a competition outdoors. We just talked about Janja outdoors, about her and comparing her to others outdoor sends. And like, so we can't just not acknowledge that. Like it is part of it, and taking some of the principles from indoors is reasonable. Will has shifted my thinking on this, but it is so tricky because like, you know, that whole 3D printed knee pad thing. Well, it's like, okay, it's like, yeah, maybe that's whack, but what if I like bunch my pants up in one part to kind of like raise it? And like we laugh, but dude, I don't know about you guys, but when I go into the weeds, I go into the fucking weeds and I like put my knee pad right where it needs to be to try to catch that spike. And like, I don't think that's whack. Like that's just me doing my best, you know?
So we agree it's a spectrum. So the farthest end of the spectrum, like the perfect ascent is a free solo, no shoes, completely naked.
Yeah. Yes.
On site. That's the purest.
Everybody knows that. Everybody agrees.
I just want to make sure that we have established that as the one end of the spectrum.
Yes, that is the idealistic version of the whole
nobody's
thing.
doing that.
But nobody's doing that, obviously. Yeah. But like nobody's trying to set a real marathon record barefoot, you know? Like it's and this happens all the time in our lives. Like nothing we're doing is the ideal version of what we all want it to be. Like pick a thing, man.
Maybe I'm going to start climbing this way.
Yeah. You know? I will not spot you.
It's
I'm just running around in the buttermilks, just like in the middle of winter. Like,
yeah, careful, don't fall. Okay, because you can't have pads either.
Yeah, okay,
that's true. No pads.
Just my thing. That the last thing I want to put out there is that I do think that at some point we have these massive evolutions in climbing. You know, sport climbing was a huge evolution of putting bolts in. Huge deal. A huge deal. I mean, honestly, probably before my time, but cams, you know, pitons, even huge deal. And I often think about Riding Giants, that movie about surfing, and Laird Hamilton, I think Buzzy Kerbox, they brought tow-in surfing into a thing. So before you had to paddle into waves, and then they pulled people in with a jet ski or other motorized vehicle to allow them to ride bigger waves with smaller boards. And he caught a lot of flack for that.
And still kind of does.
Still does. People kind of shunned him. And you could say, like, it's almost like there's two disciplines. There's still paddle and surfing. So how do we like allow that or acknowledge that, or like something's going to change? People are going to climb with, like, you know, you said, like, what if I put sky hooks on my fingertips, Will? Like, is that okay? I'm like, maybe in 100 years, people will be like, yeah, that's, you know,
that's a shitty ice axe.
Yeah. But I mean, no, I mean, you're right on. Like I think the tow and paddle and big wave stuff is a good analogy, but like at the same time, like it's not like everybody's out there like waiting to paddle in, and then it's like some dude just rips past on a jet ski and like catches the wave and wins the competition.
That's like human powered versus like motorized, you know, like access to something, you know, it's like,
it's less obvious here, but that's kind of what it feels like to me. It's like, okay, like, is there a division where we're using like climbing shoes that just we're taking the morphology of the foot and we're trying to just cover it in rubber so that it works. And like, and then we're like climbing that way. And then there's a
what about
different
rubberized pants, rubberized shirts
kind of thing. Well, people have tried that and it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
We need more options on 8A, I guess. That's the end of it.
But yeah, like if somebody does stuff with like 3D printing, like it's just, that just feels like a different thing to me. And I don't know that I can like objectively like outline where the line ought to be, but I do know like when I see that, I'm like, that ain't it. Like, are you kidding? And then there's some stuff where I'm like, you know, like knee pads in general. I even now I'm like, I just hate it. I hate the feeling of having a knee pad on my leg. Like I love knee bars. I love climbing like with my whole body. But at the same time, like there are certain things where I'm like, man, I don't like, the goal isn't for me to, and this is a personal thing, but the goal isn't for me to figure out what tricks I can pull out of my bag in order to bring this challenge down to a level where I can accomplish it. Like I sort of feel like I've settled on my tool set and I periodically revise it. And I'm even suggesting that in this scenario where like there are these quote unquote rules and whatnot, like those rules change over time in all these other sports and technology can still advance. And I think that's all fine too. But I just sort of feel like I've settled on my tool set and then it's up to me to fill in the gaps. And I feel like there is this other realm where people are using other things other than themselves to literally fill in the gaps. And like, that doesn't.
I'm glad we all know now that Tension will not be producing a knee pad anytime soon.
Yeah.
No.
Damn.
Send already makes great ones.
Yeah. No, I'm just joking. I appreciate the insights, Will. I do think you got great points on those things. And I don't think, you know, I think we disagree in certain ways, but I think overall, like we have a very similar like approaches to that stuff. So
I don't think it's a terrible idea to have some kind of rough codification around what is appropriate in the outdoor community. I don't know if Will is the guy to do it, but I would like to see it thought more deeply as like principle based, you know, not just like, is this shoe okay? Like check more just like, you know, your idea around covering our own morphology in rubber is very different from altering. Just that idea of altering our morphology is a big principle, as well as going along with, I want to emphasize again, never changing the rock for those who come after you is another one.
What if you implanted in your leg something?
Oh God.
We could go down that rabbit hole.
I mean, there are people that have had the sweat surgery. Like that's a modification. Like
the last thing I want to say about it is I want to acknowledge that what I'm suggesting is very well may not be practical. I don't know who gets to make these decisions, how they make them, or how they're enforced. So like, it's just a thought experiment.
Last thing I want to say is, like I said, I kind of disagree with Will on most of the things, but at the end of the day, I don't ever find myself doing any of this. I don't like climbing with the book under my knee. I personally wouldn't do it. So it's funny how I'm disagreeing with him, but personally, I do kind of agree with him. So,
okay, to really close it out, it's our vote on it on the ethics segment. Will, did James climb soft? Send or not?
No.
Carlo, did James climb soft? Send or not?
Yeah, he did it, but he looked like an idiot. So I think that's the caveat. Like, sorry, you climbed it, but like not in great style. You kind of look like a doofus.
You could just left. You didn't have to.
I'm just kidding.
Okay, poor guy.
I mean, true though. Like that's what I see. Is I'm like, wow, you
I'm not disagreeing.
yeah. Like you kind of just. I wouldn't be proud of it if I were you, but yeah, I'll give it to you.
Okay,
Austin, I think you did it, James. I think you did it, James.
There you go. I'm going to say yes, he did it, and then just appreciate that Carlos said all the things I was thinking without me having to say it. This is going to come up again, I'm sure. This is always a interesting topic that I think Will has swayed all of us a little bit on, and I appreciate seeing you. I appreciate seeing Will and Carlo disagree. Don't get to see that enough. Thanks for not making me play devil's advocate. Love it. All right, guys. Closing out the podcast and moving on to Patreon Q&A. Always a really fun one with you guys. Thanks for coming back for episode number 7. And now we got, another Patreon question on shoes. If you want to hear that Q&A and other extra behind the scenes content from this episode and others, head over to patreon.com/testpiece to sign up now. Patrons also get their episodes early and ad-free. There's hours and hours of bonus content there to help you on your own path of going from good to great. Still not sure? There's a free 7-day trial for you to check it out. And to help the show grow, please share this episode with someone who would love it. Okay, see you next week.